And so if we had a talk, let we talk. Because we're talking Tobago's people's business. We are talking, I am talking about where I want to take you under the umbrella of the People's National Movement. PNM people, how are we feeling this evening? This side of the energy, this side of the vibe, this side of the young people, this side of the experience. Let me hear you say it for the PNM. PNM. A pleasant good evening to each and everyone. Permit me to recognize in our midst Executive of the Tobago Council of the PNM. I see in front of me General Secretary Yolanda Beckles, and of course, her husband, former Assemblyman Handel Beckles. Let me also take the opportunity to recognize Vice Chairman of the Tobago Council of the PNM, Dion Isaac, who is also here with us. I want to recognize Chief Secretary Ansel Dennis and co-candidate for this electoral district. Let me also recognize all of our candidates on the head table, Downey, Marcel, and of course your boy and the prospective candidate for this electoral district, Bonaccord, Crown Point, Clarence Jacob. PNM. And of course, all of the listeners, wherever you are, whether it be on Channel 5, on the World Wide Web, Facebook, wherever you are, I recognize you as well. And of course, all of our former members of the Assembly who have come from far and near to give support to this election, I recognize you. And of course, my spouse, Wesley Celestine, my #1 supporter. And so to all the people of Tobago, we are red and ready. This platform is about providing you with the correct information. This platform is about providing you with the truth. This platform is about taking you through all of the respective issues that are in front of us. And of course, ensuring that you have the information that will equip you to make the correct decision come December 6, 2021. And if you were to listen attentively, you would recognize that the correct information comes from the platform of the People's National Movement and none other. And so this evening, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that I too endorse your prospective candidate, Mr. Clarence Jacob, a man who digs deep into his pocket to ensure that his people are well represented. I would sit and I would listen to Clarence and the clarity of his vision. And I can only reckon that Clarence, as young as he is a visionary and one who understands what it takes to help to develop Tobago and more so this electoral district. And so tonight I endorse him, and I know that he will continue to provide leadership in this electoral district and also in the Tobago PNM. Ladies and gentlemen, where are we tonight? You have heard from your candidate. You have heard from some of our speakers. You have heard from the Chief Secretary in terms of some of the achievements of the People's National Movement. And you would hear from me in terms of where we are taking the PNM and, of course, the people of Tobago. And I just want to indicate that in this election, we have to make comparisons, because this election is about choosing the best vehicle. It is about choosing the best organization with the best people that will go forth to govern the Tobago House of Assembly. And so if you have to choose, it means that you have to listen. It means that you have to compare. And when you make the comparison, then you will choose candidates, and most importantly, you will choose the party that could take you forward. And I want to provide you with some information this evening. And I have been looking and I have been doing my assessment, ladies and gentlemen, and I have reasoned that the PDP has several priorities which they would have communicated to you time and time again. And I do hope that all of you were listening and following and paying attention. And if you were not listening or paying any attention, I am here to remind you. And all of us around this table are here to remind you, because these issues and these expressions articulated by the PDP must not go unnoticed. And the first has to do with the first order of priority for the PDP if they were to take office come the night of December 6, 2021. And we have said it, Crapo will in fact smoke all of our pipes if it is that the PDP was to take the reins of the office. And so to my mind, and I'm sure to all of us in Tobago, it is commendable that Farley wants to be the Chief Secretary of Tobago and the Tobago House of Assembly. I am sure in the minds of all of us in Tobago, it is commendable that Watson Duke wants to become the Prime Minister. But it ought not to be at the expense of the people of Tobago. And why do I say this? Because after over 15 years and counting, and after over 2,000 consultations that we have had in Tobago, Watson and Farley have placed their own personal agendas, their own personal priorities ahead of that of the people of Tobago. If you think a lie, go back and check the social media and all the other clippings, and you would see their behavior and, of course, all of their expressions. And because they have put their own personal agendas ahead of that of the people of Tobago, all of us, young, old, not so young, farmers, fishermen, daily paids, all of Tobago have lost out big time. And why do I say this evening? Because all throughout the discussions on the Tobago Autonomy Bill, Chief Secretary Ansel Dennis would tell you, because he sat in some of the meetings, it was about Farley ranting and raving about how to become the Chief Secretary without going through his political leader. His own personal motivation, his own personal agenda, he put ahead of the Tobago House of Assembly Autonomy Bill. And then for the political leader of the PDP, for him it was about how to become the Prime Minister. And I told you before that all he wants to do is to become Prime Minister of something. But it is becoming very clear that what he wants to do is to become Prime Minister of Tobago. And I will tell you how. So let us go back to the deputy political leader of the PDP. He has said to us in our discussions going forward that he wants to change the manner in which a chief secretary is elected in Tobago. And we have been arguing that the precedence in this country, that the precedence in this island is for the political leaders to become, in the case of Trinidad, the prime ministers. We have seen it in the case of the UNC. When Kamla Prasad Bisesa won the election, she, being the political leader, became the prime minister. We have seen it in the case of Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. When he was the political leader, he won the election and eventually became the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and still is. In the context of Tobago, all political leaders have become chief secretaries. We saw it with Hochoy Charles. We saw it with Kelvin Charles. We saw it with Orville London. But Farley wants to become chief secretary without going through the normal channels. And so when he looked in the Tobago Autonomy Bill and saw that that was not a possibility, he decided, along with his UNC supporters, that he is not supporting the Tobago Autonomy Bill. If you have forgotten, I am going to take the opportunity to remind all of you this evening about PDP's first order of priority. And so let us look at Watson, the political leader of the PDP. You have heard him time and time again says that he wants to become the prime minister. And so he tried in the elections, the general elections, on 2 occasions in Tobago East. And on 2 occasions, he got a sound licking from our candidate, Ayanna Webster Roy. But he has not stopped. He is now a candidate in the Tobago House of Assembly elections. And I have seen on Facebook within recent times it's people saying that Watson doesn't want to become Chief Secretary. So if you don't want to become Chief Secretary, what are you doing in a Tobago House of Assembly election? And I could answer that for you this evening. And that is because Watson's priority as the political leader is to ensure that Tobago secedes from Trinidad. And secession is about cutting us off from Trinidad. Those are the priorities of the PDP leadership, ladies and gentlemen, because how else are you going to become the prime minister in a Tobago House of Assembly election? The evidence is all around you, and so if I have to read and spell for you, the people of Tobago, to understand what is in front of you, I am going to do that, because I was a teacher too. And I could stand up here and break down the situation so that everybody, whether it be boys on the block, whether it be the fishermen, whether it be those who would be considered fortunate, to understand everything that is happening in this political landscape. And so it is important, ladies and gentlemen, for you to know that you ought to come out on December 6, 2021 to vote and to protect your future. This is what it's all about in this election. Farley on one hand wanting to become Chief Secretary without the support of his political leader, and Watson Duke on the other hand wanting to become Prime Minister by ensuring that his first order of business is to see Tobago secede from Trinidad. And at a meeting before, I told you what that means and how and what would be the consequences for us on this island, ladies and gentlemen, members who are listening out there. And so I want to say to each and every one of you tonight that because we did not have the support from the PDP, I want to say to you that because the PDP held up, hung up the UNC in Trinidad, we have lost out big time as a people. So what did we lose? $1.4 billion on a yearly basis, which would be the equivalent of almost $5.2 billion over the 4-year term that we are going to win. And that money could have been spent to do quite a lot of work in the community and in this electoral district of Bonaccord, Crown Point. Employment, incentives for the business sector, treating with your road infrastructure, ladies and gentlemen, $1.4 billion because of Farley's and Watson's not being able to put their own personal agendas behind. We have lost an opportunity in Tobago to borrow. We have lost an opportunity to invest in the kind of way that we want to invest for the people of Tobago. And most importantly, we have lost an opportunity to sit around the table where decisions are made in terms of the international source markets and being in a position to collaborate with those international agencies so that we can at least obtain donor funding. And that is because of Watson and Farley. And so they run and rant and rail all over the place and they tell you don't support the PNM because change has to come. But ladies and gentlemen, if we were to vote them, of course we are going to get change. And change that will slap each and every one of us in our face. And I know that it will be a change that all of us will not be able to live with going forth. And so you have to ensure that you bring out everyone, your mother, your sister, your daughter, your uncle, your aunts, your nenen, to vote solidly, and only for the party that is stable and has a track record of performance. This is what it is. We ought to make the comparison in this election. And if we were to make the comparison, we would see that the People's National Movement is second to none. This is not about jokes. This is about our future. This is about ensuring that we as a people in Tobago can sleep comfortably at night, ladies and gentlemen, because politics is the vehicle through which quite a lot can happen in terms of your development. We have lost an opportunity to become legislatures. We have lost an opportunity to create laws for this very unique space that we call Tobago. Since I have been in the assembly, we have not been able to create any laws. We have only been about talking about policies and programs and asking each other to support those policies and programs. But if it is that we want laws to open up our beaches, if it is that we want laws to create our own incentives, if it is that we want laws to determine how we treat with the environment, at this point in time, we are not able to make any because of Watson and Farley and, of course, their affiliation and alliance with the UNC in Trinidad. And so when they bust up their mouth, you have to ask them the questions. Because again, we have lost an opportunity to upgrade our administrators within divisions to deputy permanent secretaries. In the Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development, it is one of the largest divisions of the Tobago House of Assembly. One of the most challenging divisions of the Tobago House of Assembly. It is the Department of Health. It is the Department of TRHA. It is the Department of Family Development. It is the Department of Wellness. And sometimes I cringe when I see the kind of work that my administrator has to do. And we lost an opportunity to be able to at least appoint two deputy permanent secretaries to a division. And that again, ladies and gentlemen, is because of Watson and Farley. So where are we going with them, people of Tobago? Where are we going with them, people of the PNM? This is an important election, and we can't afford to lose sight of the issues that are in front of us at this time. I ain't come here to tell anybody no lie, because that is not me. And we have lost out big time, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I have been doing my observation and my research. And out of that, I have pulled out priority number 2 of the PDP. And that is and their priority rather is to ensure that they manage on the basis of lies, that they manage on the basis of hate, and most importantly, that they manage on the basis of spite. And you have heard of it from the Chief Secretary and others who have gone before. Go back and you will hear it. No mercy for those with big red flags. Those words didn't come from me. It came from Watson. They are about peddling lies and misinformation. They are about disrespecting our women folk, calling all young girls stink and dirty and all kind of story. No respect for young women. They are about disrespecting the institution that we have grown to respect. And when I look back, I see evidence of it in terms of how they would have treated with the 6-6 deadlock in the assembly chamber. Night after night, they were there sleeping, eating fried chicken in the assembly chamber. Some lie down on table, running up and down the place. And I said to myself, Lord, have mercy. I hope this is not July 27, 1990, brought back in Tobago. That is what you get from the leadership of the PDP. Mismanagement of the PSA, the threat to send home contract workers and possibly daily paid workers as well, the PDP political leader bullying everybody in his path until he met to one of the banks in Trinidad and took out over $4 million and walked through the streets of Port of Spain with it. And I am sure, as night make day, that could very well be the situation with our contingencies fund going forward. And so we have to ask the question. And all the PDP is about in Tobago is about reading and implementing strategies from the UNC's playbook. And so all the kind of nastiness you see taking place in Trinidad, they are about bringing it into this stable and beautiful place called Tobago. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we have to make the comparison, because the People's National Movement offers you stability and the PDP offers you instability. The People's National Movement offers you predictability, while the PDP offers to you unpredictability. And so I want to tell all of us who are sitting here tonight, and I want to tell all of the people of Tobago, that you ought not to trade the PNM for the PDP, because they are not fit for leadership. And we are seeing the evidence of this right in front of our eyes. And so there is a famous saying that when rabbit jump out a hole and tell you snake they down inside there, believe rabbit. Because we have seen members of the PSA coming forward to say what is happening within the PSA. And I recall, I think it was Chrislyn Moore, when she tried to organize with the PDP to form an amalgamation, she came forth and she spoke about Watson Duke. And I think I have it noted here, coming from a Newsday article, which says that while I understand that manipulation and misstatements may be the tools of some politicians, and luckily that word is some politicians, it was regrettable to count you in that manner. And there she was referring to Watson Duke. So even she knows. And so when rabbit come and tell you you have snake down in that hole, believe rabbit, ladies and gentlemen. And so we have seen the marches on the streets. We have seen the firings. We have seen how PSA members have been crying out loud for their hard-earned monies. And we have seen how they have been crying out for mismanagement within the PSA. And so, ladies and gentlemen, to my mind, and I am sure it will eventually be to the mind of all Tobagonians, that you really shouldn't leave daylight to take fire stick to look for things in the night. And as I talk about that, and that symbol means or should mean for the people of Tobago that if we vote for them, deception is in fact coming. Pay attention to what is before you. And so that is why I tell you tonight that this is a platform of truth. This is a platform of reasoning and a platform that will provide you with the information so that you can make those decisions going forward. Because I, as a young woman, take my future very seriously. And I take the future of my nieces and nephews and everyone who is closely related to me and all of Tobago very seriously. And that is why I'm here to let you know the truth about who the PDP and their leaders really are. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as I advance in my conversations to you tonight, I know we will ask ourselves the question, so what has the People's National Movement done? And you have heard of it from our speakers before. Brother Clarence Jacob, who spoke to you about all the things that has happened in this electoral district. You have heard from Chief Secretary Dennis in terms of what we have done for agriculture, how we have treated contracted workers. And as the platform rolls along, you would hear how we have been working to advance Tobago's development. And I just want to add for the record that even in the Division of Health, Wellness, and Family Development, we too have been making strides in terms of ensuring that we build a robust system so that our people can preserve their lives going forward. And I sat behind there as the Chief Secretary was talking, and I started taking notes in terms of some of the things that we have done. And I just want to say that when I took over in the division as the secretary with responsibilities for health, wellness, and family development, we had 10 ventilators at the time. And as November month steps in, or will step in, we will have a total of 28 ventilators so that if persons have challenges with breathing as a result of the COVID or otherwise, we would be in a position to treat with those persons going forward. I looked at how we would have successfully created dual pathways. Although we are small in terms of numbers and sizes within the TRHA, we were able to redeploy persons, and most importantly, we were able to create employment so that our people can lead meaningful lives. And I looked at how we have treated with the whole use of oxygen. We have oxygen concentrators at the Scarborough General Hospital, and by the end of this month, November 30th, 2021, Tobago will be fully self-sufficient where providing oxygen is concerned, because we are installing one up at the Old Fort and at the Roxborough Hospital as well. And last but by no means least, on the topic of health, we have also provided for those who would need dialysis. When I came in, there were 9 dialysis chairs. We now have 13. 13 chairs with the capacity to serve over 72 persons. But fortunately, those chairs are only serving 53 persons to date. So we have excess capacity at the Scarborough Health Center. And so where do I plan to take Tobago as the political leader and, as they say, the first female chief secretary of Tobago? And that must come with something, ladies and gentlemen. It comes with a young lady who is well experienced, a young lady who is well prepared for this job. As a matter of fact, I don't know of any other chief secretaries before me who would have worked in almost all of the divisions of the THA before taking up such a positions. I know Brother Ansel like to boast of many firsts, but this is one first that he will not be able to boast of. And so if you're talking about experience, you could find it in me, Tracy Davidson-Celestine. And of course, that comes with a new vision. And of course, I bring to you, the people of Tobago, exciting times. And this is what it's all about. And so if we had a talk, let we talk. Because we're talking Tobago's people's business. We are talking, I am talking about where I want to take you under the umbrella of the People's National Movement. So let we talk. I'm finishing just now. But I wish to tell you, the people of Tobago, tonight, again, and I want to remind you first and foremost, before I get into other areas, 3,000 jobs we are going to create. 3,000. And we are going to do that in concert with the private sector. Because you have been hearing us talking about, we are going to work to ensure that we have more foreign direct investment in Tobago. And so 3,000 jobs are very attainable over the next 4 years. And the most important thing is that we have started the planning process in collaboration with the central government. 3,000 jobs. So whether it be fishermen, farmers, taxi drivers, people who are well learned, there will be opportunities for you under Tracy Davidson-Celestine leadership, under the banner of a PNM administration. We are going to issue 2,000 lots of lands to be distributed to the people of Tobago. And I have said, we're catering for the daily paids, we're catering for the single mothers, we're catering for those who have low income, we're catering for the military in this distribution of lots to the people of Tobago over the next 4 years. I have said to all of you that my intention and my administration intention is to advocate for autonomy, because we recognize the benefits and the importance of having a Tobago autonomy, of having self-determination, because it comes with laws, it comes with authority, it comes with the ability to do quite a lot for you, the people of Tobago. I have said in times before that we are going to establish a division of information and technology. Again, it opens up opportunity for those who are now not employed. It opens up opportunities for us to move into a paperless Tobago House of Assembly. It opens up opportunities where you, the people in this electoral district, don't have to travel to town to transact business with the Tobago House of Assembly. This is what it's all about. I spoke to the issue of single women, and I have said that we will have free daycare services up to 2 children, so that our single and vulnerable mothers who are under pressure can be relieved of those pressures, and so that they could utilize that extra money that will be freed up to them to pursue education, whether it be certificates, whether it be tertiary education, whatever it is. We are here in administration, and we are going to do what we say that we will do. I spoke to you about us creating an investment agency to attract investment to this island, because we know that investment will not just fall out from the sky, and we have to go look for it, especially when you are part of especially when you are a small island economy. It's only 60,000 of us. And so we have to be in a position to go out there and knock on investors' doors and encourage them with incentives to come here to develop, just as we have done with Sandals and just as we have done with Marriott, and others will come under my leadership and in collaboration with the central government. We're taking Tobago to another level. We are about moving Tobago to renewable energy. And as I said, we are about ensuring that all of the Tobago House of Assembly vehicles in the first instance can begin that process of conversion right away. We are about ensuring that we have initiatives to enhance and to expand the private sector going forward. I spoke to you about scholarships on a yearly basis. We need specialist medical officers. We need animators in Tobago. We need persons who could help us to direct the development of environment on this island. So we need persons in environmental engineering and management. And we spoke about how we will treat with low-income earners by ensuring that they can have low mortgages, and that, of course, would be in collaboration with the different banks. And then I spoke to the whole issue of how we will monetize our culture, and that we continue the process of creating a fashion and a film industry. One of the things you do not recognize is that fashion and film is big business. So we're not just focusing on agriculture or tourism, but we also can be part of the fashion and film industry. And I see Miss Cynthia Alfred smiling because she has been there working with a number of film producers to recreate Turn of the Tide. And I hope to get a role in that series. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that I see a future that is self-sustaining. I see a Tobago, rather, that is self-sustaining. I see a Tobago that is driven largely by the private sector with support from the Tobago House of Assembly. I see a Tobago that is led by healthy people in a Tobago-friendly environment. And this is where we will be taking the people of Tobago. And so in all of that, in addition to some of the things that I spoke of, I see agro-processing taking center stage at Cove, because we want to be able to set up a plant that can process raw materials at the end of the day. Because whoever the Secretary of Agriculture is, they will have a mandate to ensure that people plant. They will have a mandate to ensure that we have the kind of incentives that will incentivize that sector. And when they start to produce, we will process and we will sell. We will create employment, and we are going to deal once and for all with the issue of food security. I see a Tobago where we can have several airlines lining up at the airport on a daily basis. So we're going to look for flights from Scandinavia, because there was a time when we had flights from Scandinavia. As a matter of fact, I was the secretary in the Division of Tourism and Transportation at that time. Unfortunately, we have the shutdown now. I see a Tobago where we can have flights on a daily basis from North America, just like Barbados, just like St. Lucia. We have to also get to that point. And so the Tobago Tourism Agency will have work to do under the Secretary of Tourism and Transportation. This is not about skin teeth. This is about all of us putting our shoulders to the wheel and getting the work done so that we can create opportunities for the people of Tobago. I see a Tobago where we can push sport tourism and cultural tourism. We have the facilities. We have Dwight York Stadium, largely unutilized. We have Shaw Park Cultural Complex. Pretty soon we are going to have a Bacalet Indoor Sport Complex. We have the weather, and we have well-trained sport administrators here on the island. Clarence is one of them. It's not that I'm saying I'm putting Clarence in sport, mind you. But the point I am making, ladies and gentlemen, in this administration, we will create the environment, we will create the catalyst, and we will ensure that we push these agendas so that people can come to this destination. And we're already doing well with the Dragon Boat Sport Tourism initiatives. So there are opportunities ahead. And last but by no means least, in terms of some of what we are going to do, we have a new hotel coming, Marriott Hotel. And we have to ensure that the chance of the madman and the madmen on the other side don't cause us to lose out on these opportunities. Because in 2023 or 2024, I can't remember the date, we are going to have an additional 300 hotel rooms in Tobago. And there will be hotel rooms of international standard. And with that opportunity, it means, for those of you who have been to hotels before and have observed how hotels operate, you would recognize how many eggs are needed. You would recognize how many kilos of meat they cook on a daily basis. You would recognize that they need things like watermelon, they need things like shrimp, etc. And we are prepared going forward to incentivize farmers who want to open up poultry, shrimp farms, who want to do watermelon farming. We are going to provide them with some startup capital so that they can be ready and prepared for when that hospital comes. Because we must be in a position to grab on all those opportunities that will be created. Otherwise, others will come in and take that opportunity. And so, going forward, we have to also be in a position to train all of those farmers so that they know how to produce those things at international standard, because we're talking about an international hotel with international best practices. And so some of those things like HACCP standards and all those kind of things must be in place and must be enforced. And so when I say that we are taking Tobago to the next level, I mean it, because we have to be prepared, ladies and gentlemen. And so my mantra and our mantra on this side is that Tobago must not be left out of those development opportunities that will come. We are about creating wealth generation. We are about ensuring that our people can lead meaningful lives in a developing Tobago. We are about ensuring that we create that environment, that we create the catalyst so that you can thrive in Tobago. And so with all that I have said, and with all that you will hear on this platform, ladies and gentlemen, if you were to listen to it, if you were to digest it, ladies and gentlemen, you would only make the right decision come December 6, 2021. And that decision is that you would be so moved to get up from your beds 5 o'clock in the morning and make sure you're at the polls for when it opens at 6 a.m. But most importantly, you would ensure that you walk with everybody. Your brother, your sister, your uncle, your neighbor, your nenen. And when you have casted that vote with that finger, ladies and gentlemen, on the night of December 6, 2021, we will gather in Roxborough and we will drive down to Scarborough, or we could gather in Scarborough and drive up to Roxborough, because we will be saying along the way, great is the PNM, great is the PNM. We shall continue to prevail. I thank you and be safe.
Take no chance. Protect your future. On December 6th, vote PNM. Great is the PNM.